So yesterday I watched a video from an interview with Simon Sinek, who is the author of Start With Why, and he's built and done amazing things. And he said, entrepreneurs are people that seek to solve problems and they end up doing something big. Small business owners do small business stuff. And he expresses how there are so many entrepreneurs that can actually make an impact and change the world that are stuck in the corporate cycle. And there's so many small business owners that shouldn't be business owners. And I couldn't agree with him more. And it really is something that I personally deal with a lot, is asking the question of, am I solving a big enough problem? Am I pursuing a big enough opportunity that's worth pursuing? Am I going to be happy 5, 10 years, 20 years if I continue to pursue the same opportunity? And this is like I know I'm not the only one that deals with it, but it's something that's so, I think, so few actually understand when you're not in business with a real business, building a real team, selling a real product / service. And for me personally, it's the constant question that creeps up in the back of my mind of asking, like, am I pursuing the right opportunity? Is this something worth seeking? Could this be a opportunity that impacts a lot of lives, helps a lot of people, serves more people, generally makes a difference, and can grow to the capacity I'd want a company to grow at? And even from a financial standpoint, does it have the abilities to hit 8, 9, 10 figures? And for some people, that's so, I think, hard to maybe relate to or understand to, but there's a few that, will understand to that capability. And a lot of it does come down to like really thinking through the analytics, like the demand, the market. And I think the toughest part for me is what ends up happening is I come across people who are doing really, really, really cool shit, especially on a digital marketing or just like an online, AI sort of wave thing. And the reality is like those companies have the ability to scale massively and make tons of money and, serve a lot of like higher valued end people. And it just always poses the question to me, like, am I pursuing the right area? Am I pursuing the right opportunity? Because what you learn is the vehicle you choose to be in is massively important. And I think a lot of people don't understand this until they actually do go into business. And for me, with my story, I generally liked fitness. It helped my mental health. It made me feel a lot better. It made me gain a lot of confidence. It made me not depressed. It massively helped my anxiety and fear of the unknown. And I decided to say, you know what? I can probably do something with this, and let me just start personal training, and actually let me try to make that a business. And it turned into this whole thing. And when it comes to, I've had this conversation with a lot of people and they always agree with me, when it comes to growth and scale, a lot of people might watch this, and I mean, if anyone watches this, right, and say, well, you have a studio, like, keep scaling your studios, do more of that, right? Which is 100% true. But when you look at the other factors that you start to learn about, right? The market itself, the demand itself, the scalability, the operational complexity, right? All these different, the profits, the revenues, the maximum amount of capital to be earned per, radius, due to like all this stuff. you end up discovering that, and I use this example, is I can continue to grow my studio, and I could say, okay, I want 10 locations. And with 10 locations, $1 million top line, that's a $10 million business, 25% profit margins. Cool, we're making $2.5 million profit 10 years with roughly, probably at that point, 100 plus employees. And it sounds really cool. And that sounds like, that's amazing. That's awesome. If you have 500 people, per location and you're serving now 5,000 people, like, yes, that's amazing. That's awesome. But the amount of work that goes into that business to manage 100 employees in 10 different locations, right? And all this stuff that goes into it, the bigger you grow, the likelihood of actually success kind of goes down in a way, because you're putting more out of your control. And the difference in framework, right there in the context of that is like, okay, well, what if you were able to serve instead of 5,000 people, and the amount of work and time and energy that goes into that? What if you were able to do something that you could work with less people, a lot less people, and serve them more to a higher caliber, charging a way higher price, and being able to have a $10 million business with only 20 employees, 15 employees, right? And the idea behind that is like, okay, what if you had 500 clients paying you $2,500 a month? And you're like, that's crazy, but it's true. It's possible. And in order to have a service that is essentially generating that type of money, it needs to be fucking good. And what tends to happen is it needs to help another business owner, like a B2B. Now, to serve that type of product at that cost, right? I really believe that in order to get someone to believe I can be essentially paying $2,500 a month to do this service, it needs to be a machine where, yeah, I put $2,500 in, but I get 10 grand back, right? If I told everyone in the world, hey, give us $2,500 a month and I'm going to give you 5 grand back, and I'm doubling their money, I would become I don't even know if that's the right word, right? A multi-billionaire, because it's like, oh, so every month you're going to charge me $250, but then you're going to turn that into $5,000 for me, essentially doing nothing, right? And when you start thinking about it from a different lens, a different perspective, you then start exploring, well, what are these bigger problems that I can solve to help and serve more business owners, essentially, right? It's the problem of, how can I support a business owner who's economically serving the economy and people to allow them to be more successful. And this is where I do see this opportunity in my Nutrition X business. And I do see the opportunity to pursue it, to really help business owners and help more people at the same time. But it all comes down to the simplicity of the operation and the factors I talk about that are almost, not only in the gym business, but, alignment to, making sure people generally like the product and service, get value out of it, and stay with it. It's simple enough where we can scale it at a fast rate, bring on the right people to fulfill those positions, and then using, our, strategic marketing to get in the right opportunities. If we have to give up capital, we will, right? We give, get people involved. And then even exploring the options of, like, how can we do that even bigger, and utilizing my network and the people I know and how we can go about it, right? There's all these ideas, and even me talking about this stuff, like, kind of like really does remind me that I think this opportunity I am pursuing is big enough if I make it big enough. And it allows me to have more clarity on, okay, I'm putting in this work now for a greater return years out. And even when I spoke to the first employee I essentially hired for Nutrition X, I made that very clear, I go, we are not going to make money this first year. Meaning, I'm not sitting back and taking profit. Like, we are essentially charging the service at very little cost, at cost essentially, so we can just gain feedback and data and actually learn what people want, how can we serve it, and then we can slowly start to spin the wheel, make it better, fail fast, and go from there. So I like to think I'm an entrepreneur. I used to hate that word, to be completely honest. I just feel like people who flaunt that they're an entrepreneur don't actually have anything to build. And, Andy Frisella says that all the time, and I believe it's very true. And at this point, like when I heard Simon Sinek say that what he said about entrepreneurs solve problems, small business owners just do small business stuff, it makes a lot of sense. Because if you look out to a lot of the small businesses, right, the little restaurants and things like that, like those small business owners are doing what they want to do. 95% of them aren't seeking to build something massive. And even when you go to like some of these, local business events, you see some of the people and you see the standard they hold themselves to. It's upsetting, but they're happy with their livelihood. Like, they built what they built. Success was defined by them, which is amazing. But when you are coming from a mindset and perspective of like, I want to fucking do something massive. I want to show people that this is possible. Like, you can have a $1 billion company and nine-figure, hundreds of $1 million company. You can build that from not having any, crazy backstory where, your parents are, ultra wealthy, your grandparents are ultra wealthy, or you met the right person, you got lucky. Like, fuck that. No, like I'm my entire life has been the hard route, and even now that we are seeing success in my studio, I have to constantly remind myself, like, I ate shit for years and years and years just to have this growth spurt, and we'll ride this wave as long as we want, but I already am expecting it to stop at one point, because that's the reality. What comes up must come down, and as we continue to grow and I pursue this Nutrition X, like, my goal is to have a team that can continue to build that, because at this point that is for them, and we can see how far it goes, and then we can build Nutrition X and just see where we take it. So this was more of a brain dump today. This is like reality, real shit of what goes through my mind as I get to my office early, and it's probably all over the place, but I'll see you on the other side.